Okay, we're at Batumi Air Base in southeast Georgia, just north of the Turkish border, getting ready for a close air support mission. And we are in a Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt II, otherwise known as a Warthog. And this plane was designed in 1972 during the Cold War. And up until 1984, over 700 were produced, and there's over 280 that are still in production today. The plane was built entirely around the GAU-8 Avenger rotary 30mm cannon, and is heavily armored with over 1,200 pounds of titanium armor plating. It's able to withstand ground artillery attacks, ground fire, things like that, and is highly capable of surviving a lot of really bad situations. So we are going to go through the startup procedure on this plane, and it's probably one of the more difficult ones to start up because it's a combination of older analog systems and some newer upgrades. This particular model, the frame was built in 1980, but there's been upgrades as recently as 2010. I believe these upgrades, it's a 2010 upgrade, has more modern digital navigation systems, fire suppression, better controls in the cockpit. So I believe that this is essentially what the A-10s are like today, but there may be new upgrades. This I don't know, but it's a fairly modern, upgraded plane. All right, so to start the plane, I'm just going to go through the sequence pretty quickly. Not a full checklist, but it's the minimum to get everything started. So we're going to turn our battery power on, and essentially we're trying to turn off all of these caution lights that are telling us that the system isn't ready. So battery, then we go to inverter standby, and that brings up some of the AC powered systems. And right away I'm going to bring up our navigation system, our control display unit, because this is the navigation system. I'm still trying to learn this. It's pretty complicated. We're going to bring our fuel pumps on, our wing and internal boost pumps, and then we can start our APU. APU is a smaller turbine engine auxiliary power unit that provides enough power to start up the main engines. We'll close our canopy. It's a little loud. All right, canopy's locked. We're going to turn our oxygen on for higher altitudes, although we don't plan on doing that today. It's good to have oxygen. We're going to bring up our lighting on our cockpit, flight instruments, so on. Makes them a little bit easier to see. Okay. And then we want to wait for our APU to get to 100%, which it is in this gauge, and we are ready to start the left engine. So we're going to move from off to idle on the throttle, so left throttle to idle, and we'll start to see in here. You can barely see it, it's turning. We're going to wait for that. Our hydraulics just came online, and we're going to wait for that to get to 60%. In the meantime, I'm going to bring up, not yet, I'm going to bring up our armaments, laser targeting pod, our main gun. I'm going to switch the heads-up display to a night mode. We're going to bring our MFDs up. The APU generator on will bring up all of our avionics. Okay, we're at 60% on the left engine, so we'll do the same thing to the right. Same procedure. Now we'll bring up our stabilization controls. So our radio section, I'll do that last. And anti-skid. Okay. Countermeasure systems. Set that to manual. Okay. So we have, we can drop chap and flare, and then there's a electronic counter, like a radar jammer type system as well. Our MFD system's up, so we want to do a load all, and that'll pull all the armaments on our wings so that the system knows what's attached. So we don't have to manually put those in. Okay, we're at 60% on both engines, so we can bring up our main redundant generators for both engines and then shut down the APU generator. and then shut off the APU. A little quieter. Okay. We're still going through the alignment process here. That takes a little while. Let's see what else. We can get this going, check our HUD, make sure that that's good. We do have a radar warning system. I didn't as part of the countermeasure. Plane doesn't have like an attack radar, but it has a radar receiver, so it'll give you some situational awareness of aircraft around you, but not quite like a fighter with a real radar system, like an active radar system. Okay, I'm just going to go through these panels real quick. This will do last. We have to bring up our navigation systems once the alignment is completed. So our radios. So we have 3 radios, and we want to go to transmit receive on our VHF AM. We also have an FM UHF, which is a higher frequency radio. Bring that to both. And then we have a VHF FM radio. And I already know our frequencies from the briefing, so the tower is 131 megahertz, and our JTAC that we're going to contact is at 33 megahertz. JTAC will give us targeting information once we're up in the air. Bring the seat up a little bit just so I can see the HUD a little bit better. The other thing we can do is bring up the CDU. It'll show us, it's a repeater of this display here, so we don't have to look down. So we are basically, other than a navigation system, ready to go. So I'm just gonna fast forward here for you while we wait for the navigation to line. Okay, our navigation system is ready and aligned. We have a 0.8 magnitude of error, which changes with these older planes. And this is a blended GPS and INS system. INS meaning like a gyroscope-based positional system. So it combines those two, and that's just how things worked in the 80s, and it takes a while to link up. So now that we're aligned, we need to enable navigation mode, and you can see our HSI is active now. And then we want to enable embedded GPS INS mode, and now we can bring on our EAC and our radar altimeter. We have a barometric and radar altimeter, and that is essentially it. I have to clear this here, and here we go. Okay, that's our backup. All right, everything is ready to go except for seat not armed, which is the last thing you do. Arm our ejection seat. Hopefully we won't need that. Okay, so we're going to contact the tower.
Toomey, infield 1-1. Request taxi to runway. Infield 1-1. Toomey, clear to taxi to runway 31.
Okay, we've been cleared for takeoff, so we're going to apply our brakes, go to full throttle, and release our brakes. And we're just looking for a speed of between 120 and 130 knots. We'll stay on the runway, and we'll begin to rotate. All right, about 120. Pull the stick back gently, and then smooth takeoff. Do a check-in on JTAC. Basically going to tell them what kind of plane we are, what kind of weapons we have, and that we're available. And then we'll get some information from him on targeting. But before I do that, I'm going to get ready to set up a waypoint, because he's going to give us information. So I'm going to add a new waypoint, and I'm going to enter in a name for the waypoint, and I'm just going to call it target, or just T1, or target 1. Here's the waypoint name right here, target 1. And then we have latitude, longitude. We want to switch that to the UTM coordinate system, because that's what he's going to give us. All right, so we're just about at our orbit here. So I'm going to switch to a regular altitude hold, disable autopilot and then just go into a 30-degree roll and enable altitude hold. So we'll just go in a circle while we deal with this. All right, here's our check-in.
Warrior 1-1. This is infield 1-1-1. E10. Golf 0216. 4,500. Armed with 1,150 cannon. Time on station is 0 plus 15. Available for tasking. What do you have for us?
He's up in those mountains somewhere looking for targets.
Infield 1-1.
And he's got one.
Warrior 1-1. Type 2 in effect. Advised and ready for 9 line.
9 line.
Ready to copy.
So he'll give us our target info now, coordinates. I'm going to type them in when he says them.
Ready to copy. Line is as follows. 1, 2, 3, NA, 20 feet, MSL, A-10C, Golf Foxtrot 1, 1, 2, 9, 6, 7, marked by laser, 1, 6, 8, 8, north 2,000, egress east. Advise when ready for remarks and further talk on.
Okay, those are coordinates that he gave us.
Ready to copy remarks.
He has to say about the target.
Use guns. Manpads, west, 0, nautical, fog.
Alright, so he recommends we use a gun. And then he told us that there's manpads, which are surface-to-air missiles. So we are going to get our program set up for countermeasures to drop 4 flares every 0.2 seconds, 5 cycles. So we're going to dump a bunch of flares quick, and that defeats most manpads. All right, so we're going to confirm
20
coordinates.
Golf Foxtrot 1, 1, 2, 9, 6, 7. Read back correct.
All right, so
Infield 1, 1. Standby data.
now he sends
Report
us.
IP inbound.
He sends us the data. We can view it on here, but we're just going to acknowledge it because we already entered in the coordinates. We really don't need to look at that. So I'm going to accept these coordinates. So we have waypoint target 1 with these coordinates, and then we're going to switch to waypoint 3, target 1. It's 4 miles away. only 40 seconds to get to it. We'll get there at 6:38 in 28 seconds. All right. Okay. Now we're going to bring up our targeting pod, and we have our waypoints selected. You can only have one waypoint, primary waypoint at a time. Go to air to ground to bring up our targeting pod. So that's this camera system right up here. So it's able to see up to 25 miles away, and we can manually go back in there. We can manually slew the camera system and lock onto targets manually, or there's an option to lock the TGP directly on the coordinates that were given to us by JTAC or Target 1. Alright, so we're going to start heading in the direction, or I believe, okay, I'm going to zoom in here. We got to turn around in the direction of the target to be able to see it. So we're almost, we got to turn around almost 180 degrees. And then we should get a visual on our TGP for that target area. And there we have it. So let's stay, get light up a little better here. Let's zoom in and see what we're dealing with. Switch to a blur, sort of like an infrared mode. And alright, so we have some personnel moving around. That right there is probably the APC. So let's get a better lock on the target. So we're going to tell them we're coming inbound. and then we're going to have him laze the target.
Infield 1-1. IP inbound. Infield 1-1. Continue.
We're going to ask him to laze the
Infield
target.
1-1. Laser on. Laser on.
And then we're going to do a laser scan search. So it's going to look for his laser. You know, he's illuminating a target. And when it finds it, it should lock right onto it. Alright, and that is definitely the APC. Okay, so we're ready to go in on a gun run. So we're just going to fly to that waypoint vector. There it is. For 5,000 feet altitude. And that that diamond is the target. We're going to bring up our guns, and we just got to put the pepper on that target area. And you can see our ranging clock is winding down, and we're just going to illuminate that entire area there. I'm going to trap some flares. All right, that was it. Okay. Okay, flare up. Set her down. It wasn't too bad. Throttle down. Fire brakes. Okay, that's it. So that was a successful mission. Now all we have to do is get back to our parking spot and shut the engines down and call it a day. So I hope that was interesting, and we'll see you next time.